Why your first $20,000 changes everything. Have you ever noticed how money stress has levels? There's a point where checking your bank balance stops feeling like a mini heart attack, where buying groceries doesn't require mental math, where a random expense doesn't instantly ruin your month. That moment doesn't happen when you're rich. It happens much earlier than people realize. Most advice online obsesses over big numbers, six figures, seven figures, early retirement, luxury lifestyles. But there's a much smaller milestone that quietly changes how your entire life works. That number is $20,000. Not because it's impressive, not because it makes you wealthy, but because it flips a switch in how your brain, your career, and your decisions operate. Why money feels so heavy at the beginning. When you're starting from zero, money feels like friction everywhere. Every decision is loaded. Can I afford this? What if something goes wrong? What if my paycheck is late? What if I lose my job? You don't think long-term because you can't. Your brain is too busy putting out fires. This isn't a discipline problem. It's biology. Scarcity narrows your thinking. It forces you into defense mode. And that's why saving money at the beginning feels painfully slow. Not because you're bad with money, but because you're pushing against gravity. The first real financial threshold. At around $20,000, something subtle but powerful happens. You're no longer one surprise away from disaster. You're no longer forced to accept every bad option. You're no longer negotiating from fear. This is usually where people have a real emergency fund, several months of living expenses, enough margin to breathe. And margin changes everything. This is the point where money stops being just something you react to and becomes something you can use intentionally. The psychological shift nobody talks about. Before this point, your main question is, how do I make it to the next paycheck? After this point, the question becomes, what's the smartest move from here? That's a massive difference. You stop grabbing the first job offer out of panic. You stop staying in situations you hate just because they're familiar. You stop saying yes to everything just to survive. Instead, you choose. Research consistently shows that even small financial buffers dramatically improve decision-making and well-being, not because the money itself is magical, but because stress stops hijacking your thinking. Why progress speeds up after $20,000? Here's the part that surprises most people. The first $20,000 is the hardest money you'll ever save. It requires consistency, saying no repeatedly, delaying gratification for months or years, staying disciplined with very little visible reward. But once you hit that number, the math starts helping you. Your money begins contributing. Even modest investment returns start to matter. The same habits suddenly produce faster results, not because you're working harder, but because you're no longer working alone. Each milestone after that takes less effort than the one before it. Why this isn't about fancy investing. This has nothing to do with secret strategies or exclusive opportunities. Someone with $1,000 and someone with $20,000 can buy the same investments. They can follow the same principles. They can take the same risks. The difference is scale. A small percentage gain on a small number feels invisible. The same percentage on a larger base starts showing up in real life. That's when investing stops feeling theoretical and starts feeling real. The most valuable thing you actually build. By the time you save $20,000, the money itself isn't the biggest win. The real achievement is who you became to get there. You proved that you can control spending impulses, you can prioritize long-term goals, you can stay consistent even when it's boring, you can delay gratification when it matters. That identity sticks. Once you see yourself as someone who handles money well, your future decisions change automatically. You don't need willpower for every choice anymore. Your default behavior improves. Why problems start feeling smaller. When you're broke, every inconvenience feels catastrophic. A repair bill is a crisis. A rent increase is terrifying. A broken laptop feels like the end of the world. With a financial buffer, those same events become inconveniences, not emergencies. Even better, you start noticing opportunities you couldn't touch before. career moves that require short-term risk, learning opportunities you can self-fund, investments you can actually evaluate instead of dismissing. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it absolutely buys options. How your career changes at this point. This is where things get interesting. When you're paycheck to paycheck, you're trapped. Everyone knows it, including your employer. But when you have real savings, you gain what I call exit leverage. You don't need to threaten quitting. You don't need to act reckless. You just stop acting desperate. That confidence shows up in how you speak, negotiate, and carry yourself. You ask for more. You tolerate less. You explore better opportunities. Often, the money never even gets used, but just having it changes how others respond to you. The biggest mistake people make: many people reach this milestone and immediately sabotage it. They celebrate by upgrading their lifestyle, a car payment that eats their margin, a house that stretches their budget, purchases that lock them back into stress. That $20,000 isn't a trophy, it's a foundation. Treating it like a reward resets the clock and puts you back at zero, mentally and financially. How you're thinking about spending evolves. At this level, you stop obsessing over small purchases and start focusing on big decisions, not because small expenses don't matter, but because big ones matter more. Housing, transportation, income growth, investing, these choices shape your future far more than daily coffee decisions. This shift frees up mental energy. You stop micromanaging pennies and start managing direction. The quiet advantage nobody sees. Here's the irony. The person with the newest car often feels broke. The person driving something boring often feels calm. Because real wealth isn't what you show, it's what you keep. When your money has a job, your life gets quieter. Less stress, better sleep, fewer panic decisions. That peace compounds just like money does. Final thought. $20,000 won't make you rich, but it will move you from survival to strategy, from reaction to intention, from fear to leverage. And once you cross that line, you don't see money or life the same way again. Start building that foundation now. Your future self will recognize the moment everything quietly changed.